Hello there! I realise this video is a little bit overdue. Like one of Lee's recent videos, there have been quite a few barriers to my YouTube engagement, I must say, and none of them really good. But that's a story for another time, so let's crack on and see what I've been getting my hands on for the past, what is it, 2 or 3? I don't even know. However many weeks it's been since I last spoke to you like this. Actually, I think most of the things that I'm showing you here have all been purchased by me in the same week, apart from one. So, it's safe to say I'm back to being mildly skint. First up is Fall of Cybertron Swindle. I'm one step closer to completing Bruticus, and I think I'm really starting to like the idea of that more now. Swindle feels, I don't know, I think he could be my favourite out of all the Combaticons so far. He's just, I don't know, there's something nice about him. He's sort of big and just striking. He's good to look at and good to stand there, and he's nicely posed, but he's probably, could be the most poseable out of all the Combaticons because they all seem to be a bit limited. But he's definitely nice, you know. Yes, he's hollow and he's, you know, a bit rickety with the wheels. And you know, he makes that horrible noise with the sort of slightly cheap plastic going on. But I think he's just really good. This is the first sort of G1-y Swindle I've got. The only other one I've got is the red car from the movie line. So just to have a representation of the character to me is just really good. I mean, you've got to love Swindle as a character. You know, he'll try and peddle you anything on the black market. He's every dodgy salesman rolled into one, and on his box art he's going, "Hey." It's just, why wouldn't you buy this? I find myself really rather liking his vehicle mode as well. It's a bit of the wrong sort of shape as to how it looks in the game, but it is still a nice beefy Jeep thing that you can roll around, and it's like, yeah, space Jeep. And while I must point out I don't own an Xbox and I've only ever played Halo once, I can see that they did sort of try and make it look like a warthog out of that. Is that right? I don't know. Gaming references. But I think if you're going to pick up one Combaticon, make it Swindle, just because it's Swindle. And it does sort of mildly live up to the name if you go and buy one that breaks and you have to go and buy another one like I did. This does of course mean now that I just need Vortex to complete my Bruticus, and that's proving really difficult because in all of the shops I've been, I know sell Combaticons like Toys R Us and Smythe's. Well, Forbidden Planet do. I'm not paying 17 quid for a Vortex. I can't find any, so my Bruticus is left with one arm. I'm still having quite a lot of fun with it. It's just a lot of fun to put it together and just muck about with all of the giant joints it has. The click on that thing, man. That click. Combumticons aside, I did pick up another Fall of Cybertron figure. Well, not really pick up, you know, you can't really do that online, can you? I've got myself Ultra Magnus. And, you know, instantly have made the problem of who should represent Prime Ultra Magnus, the RID one, this guy, or the Beast Hunters one when that comes out. There's already too many of you Ultra Magnus. I'm not sure if it's a good thing anymore. I mean, this is clearly just, you know, a redo of the Fall of Cybertron Prime mould, and really the amount of money I spent to get this is, it's a bit much just for a repaint with a new head and a sword. But I'm just feeling that it was really worth it. This is so much, I don't know, I should say nicer than Optimus, but I still want to keep Optimus as, you know, they're different enough that you can justify having both. And, well, the main reason I say that is because Optimus is a lot sturdier than this guy. Somehow, this being only the second use of this mould, the joints are worse and better at the same time. The whole upper body is really tight. The shoulders are really tight, the elbows especially, because they're painted white. They're not white plastic, and that has made them thicker, so the elbow joints are incredibly tight because of all the paint you've got in here. It just seems like a really bad decision. But then you come down to his legs, and his hips just don't feel tight enough. But then neither do the swivels, and neither do his knees or his ankles. That click sort of in here, the ankle joint, no longer exists. So it's all a bit floppier, and that's not really a good thing. This is such a good mould that is, well, on Optimus was just tough, and now as Ultra Magnus it's a bit rickety, and it just really shouldn't be. However, this guy really does trump Optimus in the paint department. There's just loads of it. It's everywhere. Knees, legs, toes, makes him look like he's wearing like Converse or something. And red bits, where there need to be red bits in his abs and on the bits on the front of the truck. All of the paint that you need is there. Even those bits on his back are in red. Although they haven't picked out the fake wheels, but I can sort of understand that. It just looks so good and is such a nice shade of blue with the white and the red, and he's all patriotic and God Save the Queen, and the only sort of thing that I can find that is a bit off is the fact he has red eyes, which makes his head sculpt seem considerably more like Overlord than Ultra Magnus. It really does just look like that. I can't get away from it. I mean, even on the box art, he's got like big lips, and it's like, that's Overlord, that's not Ultra Magnus. And especially as the way the face is sort of sculpted and painted, a mixture of both, it does sort of look like he's weeping blood ever so slightly. So, best not to look too closely if you want to maintain the illusion that this thing is Ultra Magnus and not a completely deranged maniac masquerading as him. Now, while you might say that the extra cost of a figure like that would justify all the paint you get, what really justified the cost for me was the sword. Why didn't Optimus come with one of these? It's what he uses to fight in the end of the game, and to be honest, it was clearly made to go with this mould, because you've got the gun here, which is just the same as Optimus's. There's no extra clips or anything like that. But you take this sword apart into 3 pieces and you put them on the gun, and they clip on where there are clearly bits for clips to go on the gun. So why didn't Optimus get a sword as well when it's clearly made to go with his gun? What's going on here? Of course, the good thing is it's just, you know, painted sort of generically. It's just got a few red bits on there, so you can quite happily give it to Optimus. He looks perfectly fine with it, and you know, it's a giant sword. It's actually bigger than the one Grimlock has. It's excellent, and just is another great weapon to go bandying about all of your Robomens. But there we have it. Those are the robots that I've got recently. It's time to segue into Iron Man Corner, because I expect you've been noticing the headless Ironmonger over here. So I'm now part way to this glorious, gigantic, shiny thing, and well, this obviously means that I've gone and picked up an Iron Patriot, who is, I don't know, it's got to be the worst out of the 3 first wave Iron Man 3 Legends, and it's not really saying anything too bad because it's still a really good figure. It's just I can't get over the way that the joints are limited. His legs just, that is as far out as they go. What? And then that's as far laterally they move. What's going on here? Every other joint moves really nicely. His arms go all over the place, and so does his torso. But he hasn't got a waist swivel, he's got one of these funny ball jointed chests. It's a good figure, and it's painted really nicely, and la-di-da. I just can't get over the fact that, you know, this is that extremis Iron Man that was in the first wave of Return of Marvel Legends. Everyone was raving about and saying, oh, it's such a good figure, it's so poseable. No, it's not. The legs hardly move anywhere. You can't get this guy into very many dynamic poses at all if you look below his waist. And that's disappointed me a bit. But it's shiny and it's red, white and blue, so it's still quite nice. Even though it's Norman Osborn, really. I mean, they're clearly not selling this figure as, you know, the world's worst bad guy in a patriotic suit, because they're trying to sort of get some money from the fact that no one knows who Iron Patriot is, and they're like, oh, there's a stripy red, white and blue suit in the new film, and oh, look there's a figure of a comic version of it, oh yeah, let's get that, it looks cool, without actually giving you any story that might put you off the fact that you know, this really is an abhorrent thing when you think about it. But of course it's Rhodey in the film, so that makes it all better. One thing I must say though, old Gobby must have lost a few pounds, because this is the skinniest Iron Man I've ever seen. Don't know how he's really meant to get in this suit without it just being painted on his legs. But yes, let's return from that tangent to look at the sort of, you know, dismembered body of this thing. I really want to get all of the rest of these Iron Man now. I know it's quite unlikely that I'll actually get the chance to, because I know what Marvel figures sort of distribution wave doodadding is like over here. We never get like the next wave of things, or at least the last wave of things, and I can see that the first wave is going to be stuck on Toys R Us pegs for ages, and they're not going to get any of the next lot in with Ultron and the Mark 42 and the remaining parts for this glorious thing. So I suppose it's just a wait and see kind of job. But seriously, if you want a good Build-A-Figure, it's got to be this. This is the first one I've actually thought, yes, I want to complete it, because it's massive and it's just such a good sculpt. Yes, it's just an upscaling of the little Iron Man 2 3 3/4 inch one, but it's shiny. Although this torso bit does seem a bit hollow. It makes a pretty horrible noise, and to that, it just feels really light. Each of his legs weigh a considerable amount more than his body, but I guess that's okay. Keeps him in stable poses, you know, all the weight's at the bottom. Just give me some arms and a head, so I don't have to keep doing really sort of grotesque, slightly weird things like this. But that's not all, because I've impulse buyed some more Iron Mans and got this little Avengers one that at first glance is just like the other Mark 7, but he has double knees and ankles with ankle rockers, but the rest of him is completely as static as the other thing from here upwards, which is a bit of a disappointment. But then I only paid a £5 for him, and you know, just to have all this extra motion in the legs, I guess it's good enough. Can't really justify it, but there we go. On to the shining gem of my Iron Man finds recently. This is the most recent figure I've managed to get my hands on. And look, what is it, you see? I didn't know myself. It's all shiny and gold. He's got a shield, he's got a launcher that sort of shoots that shield, and I just thought it looks really good. And to be honest, the main reason I picked this up, apart from the fact that it's really shiny, it's all gold, was it's from an Iron Man line that I have never seen over here, and I know that not a lot of people in America have seen either. Basically, when they were doing Thor figures and Captain America figures, because Captain America was called the First Avenger, they decided to stick the Mighty Avenger onto the Thor figures, and they did an Iron Man line called the Armoured Avenger. And they proved sort of, I don't know if rare is the right word, they just sort of never appeared anywhere, and there wasn't really a lot of fanfare about whether they did or not. But Smythe's and quite a few shops actually have just recently been getting loads of Iron Man 2 overstock. It's obviously from America, because they say save $5 on a sticker on them, and in amongst those were a handful of these Armoured Avengers figures. And well, I didn't really have to search very far, because this was right on the front of the peg, glaring at me in all of its shiny glory, and I was like, not seen that before. And that's what the guy said at the till when I went to pay for it. It is just a sort of repainted Mark III by the look of it, but I don't have a 3 3/4 inch version of that armour, and I'm very glad to have got this one as it, because it is just so good, and I think it might be the best small movie Iron Man mould. But don't hold me to that opinion. But seriously, if you know you want some obscure, strange Iron Man figures that are only a £5, go and look in a Smythe's, and maybe you'll find some of these. Out of the other ones I saw, and there were only 4 there, 2 of them were a reactor shift Iron Man, where it's the sort of Mark IV, and you take the round chest piece off and put a triangular one on. And then there was one that was sort of like, for going into space, I think, Exosphere armour it was called, and that was sort of red and black. but that was just another Mark VI repaint. I was just a bit like... But all that aside, I just knew that I was going to walk out with this, and I think part of the reason why I like it so much is it reminds me of the back end of the first Iron Man line, where they had all those really weird concept armours, and they just proved to be really good figures. And there were just loads of different ones, they were all new moulds, and this is what that reminded me of. Good old days of late 2008, 2009 sort of time. A reminder of a bit more of a golden age. So there you have it, everything I've heard over the past few weeks that's worth talking about. Or is it? Long story short, you are going to want to watch my next video. Well, it might not be the next one directly after this, but a future video, because my god, have I got some stuff to show you. I don't want to spoil anything. I know that quite a few of you guys who watch my stuff on here will also follow me on Twitter, and you will have already known the story. Don't tell anyone though, it's a secret and leave it a surprise. It's safe to say what I will be showing you cheered me up quite a bit after a bit of a dark time, but there's a story all attached to that and you'll hear it very soon. So watch this space.